firstly, thank you to Gary, Mark, and of course the Retail Summit for the invitation. It's always a nice opportunity to speak to this group. Slightly daunting when I was told that on this occasion I'll be doing it alone and trying to put my best foot forward. So this is a very new experience for me. So just to add to the complexity, I thought, why not give it a bit of a twist? Rather than talk to you about a lot of topics that everyone would have touched on through the course of today and no doubt will cover tomorrow, some of the things that I'm being more recognized for in retail and technology, and I'm very flattered by that recognition, I thought it might be worthwhile talking to everybody about the building blocks to actually achieve that. And so first, let me introduce myself. So Andrew Xeni, I am the founder of all three businesses presented, Fabacus, Nobody's Child, and Soreto. Soreto is a social remarketing technology whereby brands and retailers can incentivize their customers post-purchase to share with their friends and family to drive sales. We have about 150 brands today globally, including Nike, Under Armour, Puma, Samsung, all the H&M brands. So I'm very proud of that portfolio. Nobody's Child is a responsible fashion brand that we started 9 years ago in the UK. My DNA was manufacturing. We had our own vested interest in knitting, dyeing, printing facilities, manufacturing for most of the UK high street retailers. And of course, through that learning, we fancied our chances at starting our own brand, unbeknown to us what a task that would be. So we put a lot of capital in, our own capital. We exhausted our own capital, and about 4 years ago, when we were at about £2 million in sales, we realized that the pure play model is being challenged more than ever, and we needed to break that model in order to become a viable proposition. So in the public domain, you'll see I sold 30% of my brand to Marks & Spencer's in the UK. At that moment, I had 180,000 customers. Marks & Spencer's had 32 million, so it was a bit of a no-brainer. And of course, we were dropping meat in a piranha tank, which was incredible. So we've seen incredible growth. Last year, we boast over 130 million in gross retail, so that's a significant 60 times on our revenue in the last 4 years. So very proud of that. And lastly, Fabacus. It's a technology business. I really set up to fix problems in the supply chain that I was experiencing as a manufacturer, but it was really to scratch an itch, my own passion project, my own little sandbox to build technology, something I was very passionate about. And then I discovered the $360 billion licensing industry, whereby huge IP owners, licensors, Disney, NBC Universal, Paramount, Hasbro, these guys are producing licensed product through thousands of partners across multiple categories, every region on the planet. And actually, if you ask any one of them at any given point to give you a list of those products, they simply can't. And in their defense, it's been passive income, high margin business. Disney today accounts for 64 billion in retail, just in licensing, to give you an indication of scale. And what we build for them through Fabacus is what we call authenticated product catalogs, a single structured digital product catalog of all their products, all categories globally. We're the only people in the world doing that. Fast forward 7 years, we've now signed 55% of industry critical mass. I work with all the large studios I just mentioned and some incredible large brands. And so I found myself in this incredible position, in a fortuitous and privileged position where I straddle both technology and retail. And I suspect that's what got me here today. My nuance in this session is really just to leverage all of the learning, so manufacturing, retail, fashion, of course, and a little one there, my passion project in music, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And what I've learned in each of those different sectors, the different teams, the different cultures, the different mindsets, the different ways of working, the breadth and depth of executing, and thankfully, trying to do that successfully across each of those pillars. So the three main bits that I want to try and articulate today and get across really is the power of focus, the power of culture, and the power of conviction. And so in the first instance, we'll work on focus for a moment. I didn't appreciate focus. Coming from a manufacturing background, it was all a commodity trading mindset. Make products, sell products, make margin, happy. Simple equation. Getting into technology, building enterprise software, and trying to get your team to understand the value proposition that you're trying to develop and build for these businesses, getting everybody absolutely focused on one goal so that as an organization you can deliver it, was an incredibly steep learning curve. And I was fortunate enough, and am fortunate enough, to work with some of the largest organizations in the world today, and partners. And in my conversations, and a couple that resonate that I want to talk about, one was with Amazon, where explaining to a friend of mine who was head of their affiliate program, when he was at eBay, he was responsible for an affiliate program with a team of 10. And actually, when he went to Amazon, he said, this program is 10 times bigger than eBay's, and how big do you think my team are? And I said, I have no idea. He said, just me. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And at the time, I was actually pitching him Soretto and justifying 100 million that we could add to Amazon sales. And he said, if it doesn't make my top 3 revenue streams, I can't even list it, I can't focus on it. So I was like, wow, this is an incredible business with incredible resource, incredible body count. They can do whatever they want, or at least that was the perception. But what got them their success, even at that scale, was absolute focus on the 3 priorities. Culture is another massive learning curve that I had to go through. The difference between, again, the commodities and building software. And in a world where you're building software and you're competing with Amazon, Google, and all these guys, my talent, and I'm only on the first floor in my building, if I get rid of somebody, by the time they leave the ground floor, they'll have a new job and a pay rise. So retaining that talent is absolutely about culture. And it's about being collaborative and making sure that everybody is aligned on the goal, the mission, the vision. And then fast forward to our success through Nobody's Child. One of the things we get praised for is our sustainability initiatives, our circularity initiatives. Of course, we're very proud of that. But actually, whilst I get the praise and the recognition, and I'll take it, it's my team that deserve the credit. Now, what I did is I pushed the snowball off the edge. And the team have continued to roll that snowball down the hill and let it grow. And that's, again, attributed to the culture within the business. And the last one I'm going to come on to on this slide is conviction. I really struggle when as a vendor, I'm pitching. As a brand, I'm socializing. But as a brand, I'm buying. And conviction is something that seems to still be such a massive oversight in businesses and organizations. And where I learned about conviction was actually in the music industry. So I was managing a production duo, 2 boys, lovely boys. We'd managed them for about 10 years. And again, it was a passion project of mine. And we released a single that got incredible traction in the UK with a very well-known artist. And the record label pushed back the release of that single 5 times because they wanted to keep building momentum. At the end, the single didn't even make the top 10. So I called up the head of the BBC playlist. It was the biggest listening audience in the UK, and a friend of mine, and called him and said, please, can we meet and discuss this? And I said, do you mind explaining to me what happened? I want to know what went wrong so I could feed back to the label and put this on a corrective course. And he said, yeah, when the label come to pitch it to me, it was lacking conviction. It's very different when you go and say, you should listen to this. And it's very different when you go and say, you need to listen to this. This is amazing. That energy, that conviction that we have to give out, now that has to come from the leadership, from the management. It doesn't matter if you're speaking to the cleaners, your clients, your partners. Everything we do, if we believe in it, must be delivered with conviction. And conviction must also stem from a tangible base. It has to be data-driven, it has to be factual, and it has to be correct. So these are my 3 biggest learnings that essentially drive me and my teams. And so I picked a couple of quotes that I love, and I want to talk about why. So if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. Apparently Henry Ford say that. I say apparently because I wasn't there, and certainly there's a bit of a debate in social whether he did or didn't say this, but actually I love the quote nevertheless because it resonates and it makes a really strong point. When I started speaking to the big licensors, and I'm talking Disney, Paramount, NBC Universal, Hasbro, the biggest guys Warner Discovery on the planet, and I was explaining to them that the way that they're working after 25 years is fundamentally flawed. Now, who am I to quote that? And who am I to then go to Seattle and tell Amazon that the way they're dealing with licensed consumer products doesn't work? They kept saying it's because we need a new concept system. We need a new contract system. I'm like, but you're doing the same thing. You're just improving a segment of the workflow. You're not fixing the fundamental problem. So I faced into this firsthand. And the other quote that I really love is, if you're not embarrassed by your first version of your product, you've launched too late. Reid Hoffman. I learned this about 5 years in and half of my capital spent later. because I want it to be perfect, I take a lot of pride in the way that we're perceived. I take a lot of pride in the way that our product and our reputation is perceived. So I'm addicted to that detail. But actually, the only way you learn is when you're doing. And that feedback you get from your partners, your clients, and everybody you're working with is what's going to feed the beast. So just launch, go for it, fail fast like Amazon, learn. Don't be held back. Now, when you start thinking about sustainability and circularity, it seems to still be the ugly stepchild that's in the corner for some organizations, or others make noise but don't really understand what they're trying to achieve. So the reason I'm here is to basically present to you guys where we've ended up. And in my opinion, it's the pinnacle of bringing these cultures together and technology and brand. So here you're going to see scrolling, apologies for the small detail, but it's a digital product passport. Pictures, description, composition, tier 5 supply chain, who made it, where it was made, the mill, the yarn, every element of that product in one single user interaction. The trims, the zips, customer experience, the footprint, carbon. We've done water, we've done energy, packaging, everything in one place. And I'll elaborate in a moment. The durability of the product, all the way through to the care instructions. How do we extend the life cycle of the product? Certification, integrity, factory audit information, of course, all the data that sits behind it, the science, and our circularity initiatives. And lastly, we turn this compliance into an opportunity by delivering a consumer experience, a reward and an incentive for customers to want to engage with the passport, to want to engage with the brand. And of course, when you think about nobody's child, only 55% of our sales today are D2C. I want to know who the other 45% of my customers are through other channels. This gives me an incredible opportunity at product level to speak to my customers that have that product in their possession. And to achieve this and to get to this point, a few of the numbers around it, of course, myself, a very passionate founder. I am a geek. I love this stuff. 2 driven businesses, 10 motivated functions within those 2 respective businesses, 20 collaborative suppliers, 15 different data sets, 8 supportive partners. So these are the third parties, the people that help us calculate our carbon, water, and energy. But over 180 product attributes in that passport alone. It's a very complex problem. And it's not one that can be solved without collaboration. It's not one that can be solved without technology. And it's not one that can be solved without the right bodies to operationalize the execution of delivering these passports. But more importantly, it can never be delivered without the culture. So if you want to set out and really tick the boxes and really be leading and put your best foot forward, there has to be a significant mind shift in the way that you're operating these businesses, the way that you're engaging your colleagues and your teams, the way that you're articulating with conviction your desire to do these things. And of course, we're a very commercial entity. We have to be viable. You know, this is not just about our sustainability credentials or ticking the boxes for ESG and CSR. This is about being commercially viable but delivering value to my customer, driving loyalty. We've got the data that's telling us already that our customers are returning more. They're spending more. We're earning more per customer because they respect and appreciate the honesty. And so from my perspective, everything I've learned over the last 25 years, working out across multiple different functions, and I haven't named most of them, and through the DNA, is to take a lot of pride in what we're building, make sure we're doing it with the right passion, the right vision, make sure we're doing it with the right leadership and delivering it, but empowering those people that participate to help us get to this point. And none of this is scripted, by the way. I've only come here to deliver the slides and tell you what I'm doing, and I was very proud of the fact that I was invited to get this opportunity. But this is something that is very close to my heart. So if ever I can be helpful in any capacity, I love speaking about it. But one of the interesting things about this particular opportunity was coming to a market that's unknown to me, that has an incredible opportunity that wants to lead in so many different ways. Why not capture everyone else's learning so early? You know, the rest of the world are now trying to catch up on what circularity and sustainability means, and this market has full capability in its infancy in this capacity to start nipping some of these challenges in the bud. And, it was interesting listening to Jack earlier about his initiatives and focusing the market. And there are so many different partners doing different things. But from our perspective, I wanted to deliver a message today that just says, if as individuals we don't want to do this and we're not passionate about it, then you're never going to get to this point. And I'm grateful that today my team are doing this. I made a promise last year that I failed on, and I put my hands up to that because I don't care. I'm still committed to the cause, is that every product will have a passport. Okay, so we failed, but it will be by the end of March. Every single product that we produce and sell through Nobody's Child will have this passport with this level of detail. And that is a massive undertaking by every function, every person in our business and our organization. So just going to do a quick time check because there's no clock. Who's giving me the nod? I've got 5 left. Okay, great. So rather than just talk at you all for 5 minutes on this, I'm going to just dig a little bit deeper into the DNA of the execution of what we call this passport. So if you're a retailer or a brand today, one of the bits that we're trying to remedy, which is significant, is if you are licensing out your IP or you are licensing in IP, imagine this scenario, and this is real. I walk into Primark today, I pick up a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. I pick it up because I love Mickey Mouse. Not quite that IP for me, but you get the point. And nevertheless, when you're holding that product, Disney know nothing about you as a consumer. Arguably, whether the retailer does too. But when you're engaging with that product, it's because of the IP. And yet the licensors live on their own island because the licensees are producing, distributing, and selling products to the consumers in their own right. And so what we're trying to do is bring these licensors back into the value chain, make them accountable for the products that are being sold. They're already legally liable. And for those of you that are not aware of what this passport is, it stems from an EU regulation that's already passed in law as of July 18th last year. And there is a roadmap that basically says that by 2030, every consumer product sold in the Eurozone will need to have a passport by law. Now, what we're doing and what we're seeing is a lot of big retailers and brands are already rationalizing their supplier base and their partner base to basically get to a level where they can make this achievable in those markets. And what we're also seeing is there's a whole load of other legislation around packaging, reporting, ESG, environmental impact reporting. Everything will stem. So what we do is, rather than the jazz hands that is the passport, we build the house. This is just the roof. And that's the role that we want to play. So if I can invite you all in your own time before I get kicked off stage, feel free to scan it, and you're going to be directed to the passport, which is actually live. So this isn't just something that's been mocked up for the purpose of today. If you buy one of our products and scan it, you will get exactly the same experience. So with that in mind, and given the schedule, I'll call that a day. So thank you. That was a pleasure to present to you all.